Hey guys, welcome back to the Study Boost. Today we are looking deeper into the meaning and effectiveness of a so-called study technique, the Pomodoro Technique. What is this technique that everyone is talking about? From study influencers to your friends and to simply anyone online. What is the Pomodoro Technique and how do you even use it? Does it even work and how? Well, in this video I'm going to explain everything you could want to know about the Pomodoro Technique. However, if you have any pounding questions after watching this video related to this technique, please comment down below so I can answer these questions or make a future video about it. This video is going to be split into 5 sections. These are going to be what simply is the Pomodoro Technique, where we are going to discover what the technique is. How do you use the Pomodoro Technique, where I'm going to help you understand how to do this technique and know best when to use this effective study technique. How effective is the Pomodoro Technique, where I'm going to explain how it benefits you and your studying habits. What apps or websites can I use to help me do this technique? And lastly, any amazing tips to help you gain the most out of this simple studying and productivity technique. You can find the table of contents in the description so you can jump to any of the sections you want to, so you can watch what can help you most if you already know the basics of this technique. I wanted to make this video suitable to anyone, even those who use and know this technique from inside out. But before we jump into any of the sections, who should use this technique? Well, anyone can use the Pomodoro Technique to help optimize effectiveness and productivity. However, this technique can be most useful for people who often get distracted by very minimal things and find that these little distractions often trouble their entire day. This technique can help those people maintain focus by working in little increments of time so that they can get everything planned to be done without losing focus midway. The Pomodoro Technique is also really useful for those who consistently work past the point of optimal productivity. Studying for too long time periods can make your brain lose focus and completely cancel the effectiveness of the study session altogether. Everyone's focus and work span is different. However, studying for too long amounts of time is ridiculous and does not help with memorization. This technique is also useful for those who have lots of open-ended work. This includes work that could take an unlimited amount of time, such as studying for an exam, researching a topic, and more. The technique helps people increase the effectiveness of each study/research session and helps them study less, reminding them to take a break to rest their brain. Now that we know who this technique can help and how, let's jump into part 1. What is the Pomodoro Technique? To be simple, the Pomodoro Technique is a time management method where you study for 25 minutes, then take 5-minute breaks in between these study sessions. After 4 consecutive work intervals, a longer break is typically taken, ranging from 15 to 30 minutes. This technique was invented by Italian Francesco Cirillo when he was a university student and used a tomato-shaped kitchen timer to organize his study schedule. He created this technique by experimenting with different work intervals, from 2 minutes to 1 hour, where he quickly realized the interval was getting too long to stay focused on a task. He wrote, "I discovered that you could learn how to improve your effectiveness and be better able to estimate how long a task will take to complete by recording how you utilize your time." Fun fact! Each work interval plus the break period is called a Pomodoro, the Italian word for tomato. Now that we know the basics and origin of this technique, let's get into part 2. How do you use the Pomodoro Technique? Well, we now understand and know that the technique is simply based on working in 25-minute work intervals and taking a 5-minute break. To do the Pomodoro Technique, first choose a single task or project to focus on. Then set a timer for 25 minutes and start working on this task. When the buzzer sounds, take a 5-minute break. After this session, also called a Pomodoro, you mark your progress with an X and record what you have completed in this time. Also keep track of how many times you procrastinated or changed to working on another task. This shows that you have completed one Pomodoro and lets you know in the future what kind of tasks you lose focus on, so you can slowly make changes to your studying routine to combat these problems. Of course, this tracking progress step is optional. However, it can be extremely rewarding in the future if you want to analyze your progress. You then repeat this 3 more times, so that after 4 sessions, you take a break that is about 15 to 30 minutes long. The Pomodoro technique is suitable for tasks that are open-ended, such as studying and going through a busy inbox. However, tasks that are very creative and need you to get into a certain flow state do not benefit as much with this technique. This is because once a work session is done and the alarm rings, you essentially break out of the focus state. For tasks such as writing a song, painting, or doing artwork, the Pomodoro technique should not be used, and the better alternative to this technique for these types of tasks is the flow time technique. We will learn more about this technique in a future video, but if you have any questions about this technique, please feel free to comment down below in this video. So now moving into part 3, how effective is the Pomodoro technique? The Pomodoro technique essentially trains people to focus on tasks better by limiting the length of time they attempt to maintain that focus and ensuring restorative breaks from the effort. This can be extremely effective for certain types of people who lack focus, helping them overcome their tendencies to procrastinate or multitask. Multitasking is proven to reduce productivity and lead to errors as your brain continually switches back and forth between tasks. Multitasking can also increase distractions and decrease the quality of your work. When using the Pomodoro technique, you are forced to work on a single task in one Pomodoro. The technique also helps fight against procrastination, as you can break a large project into smaller, less intimidating and more manageable chunks. This can help overcome your reluctance to begin, as it is said that starting is the hardest part. Another benefit of the Pomodoro technique is the sense of urgency it creates, which may not be a benefit for certain types of people. You create a deadline for yourself, helping to make yourself more motivated to complete a task. It also makes you comprehend that you don't have endless time to get things done, leading you to try to make the most out of your precious work hours without getting distracted. The Pomodoro technique also improves focus and energy. When you work for long periods of time without taking breaks, your brain can become fatigued, making it difficult to focus and be productive. This is also known as burnout. You can prevent this by using the Pomodoro technique, which forces you to take breaks from the reminder of the alarm ringing. From the breaks, your body and brain can be restored before the next work interval, helping you to maintain a consistent level of focus and productivity throughout the day, and helping to lessen the burnout, overwhelmed feeling most of us experience. This technique can also reduce stress greatly. You only have to focus on the 25 minutes of work instead of looking forward and getting overwhelmed by the massive amount of work you have to do. In these 25 minutes, you only work on a small task from a large project, helping you better manage your workload. It can also help you feel more in control with your time by limiting open-ended work such as studying and researching. These tasks can take an endless amount of time, and if we are not careful, we can let it take up our entire day. The Pomodoro technique can help alleviate stress and anxiety from having too much to do and not enough time to do it, by helping you manage your time effectively. The Pomodoro technique has helped change so many people's lives, not just for studying, but for productivity. It has helped people from mothers to students, to business workers and influencers finish task they want to complete. But you may be asking, will it work for you? Well, there is no 100% guarantee. However, it is known to be successful at increasing productivity and decreasing procrastination in numerous studies. According to one study, this technique resulted in a significant improvement in student performance. So if this technique sounds like it can work for you, try it out. You will never know if you don't try, and this could change your whole studying game. You never know. So now that we know that this technique is effective, let's move into part 4. What apps or websites can I use to help me do this technique? If you do a simple search on the internet, endless Pomodoro and time managing apps and websites will pop up. You can play and experiment with apps and websites online to find your favorite app that keeps you focused. Many of these apps include reminders and motivating quotes to keep you studying. Some even include features that don't allow you to use your phone when in a work interval or Pomodoro. You can customize most apps and websites to your own will to increase your productivity. Some good Pomodoro apps include Plenty, Forest, Minimalist, Focus List, Pomodoro, Pomofocus, Focus Keeper, Clockwork Tomato, and Focus To Do. However, there are so many more that you can experiment with. Experiment with these apps and find your favorites so you can be as productive as you can. And now let's finally move into part 5. Tips to help you gain the most out of the Pomodoro Technique. Tip number 1. Plan out your Pomodoros in advance. Before you start your first timer, know what task you want to focus on within this 25-minute work interval. This helps you get right to work without wasting time deciding what to do. You can also make a brain dump or to-do list, where you slowly finish all of these tasks in separate work intervals. Tip number 2. Break down complex projects. If a task or project requires more than 4 Pomodoros, divide it into smaller, more manageable tasks. You can then work on each smaller task in separate individual Pomodoros to help you finish this task faster. Tip number 3. Small tasks go together. This is a simple tip that lets you be most effective with your time. Simple, tiny tasks such as writing an email, reading articles, and more can be merged into one single Pomodoro session so that you can finish miscellaneous tasks in one go. Tip number 4. Actually take your breaks. Sometimes you think that taking these forced breaks are wasting time. However, you will soon notice yourself getting tired and restless. When I first tried this technique, I thought that these breaks were a waste of time and never actually did them, continuing to work on my task. However, when I started finally taking these breaks, I realized that I felt much better at the end of the day and was less stressed. Tip number 5. Don't be afraid to customize it. If the work interval of 25 minutes just doesn't feel right or isn't correct for your task, just adjust the length of your work periods and breaks. This can allow you to become more productive if you can focus for longer and get more done, while still not becoming burnt out. Tip number 6. Note down any ideas that come to mind during these work intervals. If any miscellaneous and random ideas, such as checking emails or text someone, come to your mind when focusing, jot these down quickly. You can later return to these tasks and do them in another Pomodoro session, like we mentioned in tip 3. And lastly, tip number 7. Find a Pom partner. Finding an accountability partner is always good for studying. They make you feel like you need to get something done because they are always there and tracking your progress. Finding someone to try this method with can help you actually stick to it and see if it actually works for you. You can tell each other what you plan to do in your work session and check in during your breaks to encourage each other to continue working. So guys, now Now that we have covered every section in this video, I just want to add this last thing. This technique is not suitable for everyone, and maybe it doesn't suit you. Don't be disheartened by this and find a time management technique that suits you. For me, I don't like working in small chunks of time, so I prefer actually taking breaks after I've finished the task. This allows me to stay in my focus zone without getting distracted and losing important thoughts when the timer rings. However, of course I don't do a whole large project in one sitting. I work through the smaller chunks and take breaks after I've completed each smaller task. Please try out this technique and hopefully it works like magic for you. This technique is extremely useful for boosting productivity and effectiveness of study sessions. Please comment down below your progress and how you use this technique. Also comment down below any video recommendations you have so I can continue giving you all a study boost. Remember to like and subscribe, turning the post notifications on so you can be notified whenever there is another video. Thank you for watching.